Welcome back, listeners, to part 3 of our enlightening conversation with the extraordinary Pat Reeves. This episode unveils a remarkable chapter of Pat's journey. Pat fearlessly shares the story of her accident, detailing how it has impacted her lungs and walking. Yet, against all odds, Pat stands as the reigning world champion deadlifter, a testament to her indomitable spirit. Pat opens up about the challenges she has faced and the resilience that led her to triumph. Discover the profound connection between passion and well-being, as Pat emphasises how loving what you do can be a powerful catalyst for health. This is an invitation to witness the strength of the human spirit and uncover the secrets to a fulfilling, wellness-driven life. Tune in, download, and follow Serenity Speaks as we delve into the inspirational and empowering part 3 of our conversation with Pat Reeves. Your path to holistic well-being starts here.
The accident affected my lungs dramatically, so that now I can't do steps or have to do them incredibly slowly. So I avoid all steps and slopes. So walking is quite a challenge. With the cane it's better, with the rollator it's almost perfect because that evens up my balance. So I've had to train differently, doing something like 3 sets of 10 of bench press is like something that went away years and years ago. So I can do 3 repetitions on the bench, but for deadlifting I'll only do singles, and that's fine, it works. I've done 4 events, increased my world record 4 times since the accident. So instead of doing like 3 sets of 5, I will just pick it up once. I will pick each increasing deadlift up once. And that works, that's fine. The oxygen helps a lot. I continue to do that. Not so much that I need it, so what I'm doing now is living in a way that I don't get breathless, if possible. That's why when I'm in here, I'm absolutely fine. If I have to go out, then I have to look at what terrain I've got to be on. So it's mainly affected mobility. So, my strength is still there. I'm lifting more than I have to qualify for the Worlds. And because I'm now the oldest woman lifting in my weight category, then I am competing against me. So I am my biggest challenge. It's me I have to beat. Not somebody else, because there isn't anybody else in my age and weight category. Well, I am world champion, powerlifter, that's all the 3 lifts, and for the last 5-6 years I've specialised in deadlift, because things happen to you when you get older which makes it very hard to squat to legal depth. And although I still could complete a bench, I choose not to because I can still do sufficient to give me the world title on bench, but I can't increase it. And so to me, I am better used refereeing than benching, which I can't do both at the same time. So deadlift I'm still functional at, and hope to carry on. That's all you can say. It's not something you've done for so many years. It's incredibly hard to give up if you love what you're doing. And that's one of the things I've always said to patients, you need to spend most of your life loving what you are doing. And so people who are employed in jobs that they dislike become sick. And the sickest people have always been teachers and civil servants. I have a lot of those on my books. They're under so much stress. I mean, some of them love what they're doing, but a lot don't. During the pandemic, I had 7 nurses and 2 doctors from the QE that I regularly saw. And, these poor souls were doing 14, 18-hour days at the QE. They weren't allowed even to have a glass of water or even go to the loo. Had to be factored in because they were so busy. And so I still see quite a few of them now on follow-up appointments. But my aim then was to keep them going because we couldn't have them sick. So QE was totally overrun during the pandemic. These poor nurses, when they finished their shifts, they were so shattered they had to go home and choose to eat or not eat, or just go to sleep and get up the next day and do it again. Yeah, because they were just so shattered. So the nurses' lot is not great. And because there's not enough of them, even now, post-pandemic, patients are either given the choice of, do you want me to feed you or take you to the loo? I haven't got time to do both. So, they're working pretty much flat out. Someone I saw just before Christmas, she should be having, I think it's 14 patients to each nurse, and she's got 35. You've only got the same time frame, and you've got to look after 35 people instead of 14. That's why you can't do everything for people in hospital. Basically, we just have a desperate shortage of doctors and nurses. So yes, it's very sad. I mean, the last, you could almost call it a mini accident, when I came down the steps in the garden and broke several bits of me. It was mainly my hand and my arm. So I put my hand out to save, it was an automatic reaction. But the spike of the solar light went through my head here and just narrowly missed. But I couldn't stop the bleed. And I had to ring my ex-husband up, who was then 12 miles away in Bromsgrove, to take me to the QE. And that was a Friday evening. And so, I spent about 3 hours trying to stop the bleed. And I was running an event. I was running the West Midlands Divisional the next day. And so I'm thinking, I've got to have something done about this. As long as I kept the pressure on, it was okay. But the moment I took the pressure off, it just bled. So he took me to Russell's Hall. And when we got in, A&E was absolutely packed out. And the time frame running across the screen was, waiting time is 4 hours. Then it went to 5 hours, to 6 hours. At 7 hours, they turned the screen off. people came in. I remember a couple, an elderly couple, he'd obviously had done something to his head. She came in with 6 kitchen rolls and filled them all with blood in the time I was waiting. Just nobody to see. And I got there, I think about 5:30, and at 2:00 in the morning I went up to the lady on the desk and said, look, you're gonna have to discharge me from here. I said, because I'm running an event, I've got to be up at 6:00 in the morning. And she sent me into triage and said, she said, go in there and ask if you can be discharged. And I did that, and she said, well, I know nothing about you. She said, so no, I can't discharge you, you'll have to go back and sit out there. And what the lady on the desk, the receptionist, said was, technically, you are the next person to be seen. She said, but I can't tell you how long that will be, because what the doctors are involved in is the RTAs, as I had. Somebody with a heart attack, they're operating on them. A&E just gets bigger and bigger. And now it's like at least 12 hours now waiting A&E. So there's not a whole lot of point in going unless you're prepared to sit there all day. But that time when I fell down the steps and I went in, I think about 8:30 in the morning, and there was almost nobody there at all. And I was in desperate agony. And they still ask you all these questions. You have to get that heart beating faster. But yeah, I mean, activity is anything, getting up. I mean, what are they saying now? That, sitting is the new smoking. And we all know smoking kills you, and so if you sit down too much, that will as well. So, I get people to have an egg timer on the desk. When it's gone down, get up and do something. I've got a couple of offices where I saw 2 people who worked in the same office, and they're both exactly suffering with the same thing. And I got the boss to put an exercise bike in the office so that every half an hour, all of his employees in the office can spend 5 minutes on the bike. It took me some time to convince him that their level of work would be better. Because if you're just sitting there for hours on end, you're not working as efficiently as if you would if you had a break. And they all got a lot fitter. I mean, I said, look, it's only 5 minutes out of their time. He said, oh, go on, I'll give it a go and see what happens to them all. And they all loved it. And of course, because they felt better, they stopped bringing in bowlfuls of sweets and bought in bowlfuls of fruits. Your level of energy during the day is only that of what you do. If you don't do anything, then you're hardly going to fling your arms out and say, well, I feel fantastic. So, yeah, there has to be more activity. I spend a whole lot more time sitting down now than I used to, but, I'm still training every day. I do at least 2.5 hours on the Orbitrek. And if I'm not reading something or watching the telly or multitasking, as I still do, then I'm using the exercise bands as well. So I can still do all that while I'm sitting down. I say it's about finding ways round. Virtually everybody can find time to do some exercise. It's the same thing with, I've always said to people, if you haven't got an hour a day that you can spend putting up decent food and half an hour of exercise, your day is skewed. It's like if I've done time and motion study with people, I can always find 2 hours where basically they are just wasting their life. They can be doing other things. So, people will say, oh, I've got no time to cook, I have to dial for a takeaway. It's like, so on one day a week, just cook everything in the oven. You haven't got to sit and watch it. You can carry on with your life. On the night, chop it all up into little pieces and put it all in freezer bags. Cook all your vegetables if you're eating cooked vegetables. Make your own ready meals, put some in the fridge, the rest in the freezer. So, they say, oh, Wednesday night I have to run all my children, he has to go here, she has to go there, I've got no time to cook, I'll just dial for the pizza. I said, right, well, Wednesday morning before you go to work, get one of these meals out, it'll defrost it by the time you come home. Don't stick it in the microwave, put it in a saucepan of water, heat it up. By the time you change before you go out, there's your food. Like pre-preparing salads. Just do. Salads will live 5 days in the fridge. So you wash them, spin them, cut them all up, put them in a big container. All you've got to do is just grab a handful, put it on your dinner. So you have to, time is a big thing that we haven't got. And so, I knew from years ago that it wouldn't work on someone who'd spent all day at work, grabbed a sandwich at 11 o'clock, came home starving hungry, and they looked at my instructions and say, oh, Pat says I've got to make lentil soup. I've got to wait 2 hours for that. I knew that wouldn't work. So, you have to look at what stops people from being on a better path. And give them that information. If you have an hour lunch break, then spend half an hour walking, have your lunch with you so it's all ready to eat, but spend half an hour walking and then eat your lunch. Instead of just like, a lot of people just go to the canteen and talk to each other. Well, you could talk to them while you're walking around the block. So, there's ways of doing things without it costing you money or time. Because, if you're at work and you have an hour for lunch, strangely, not many people get a lunch hour now. They're going about 10 minutes and they're back at work. But if you've got an hour lunch hour, then you're stuck there anyway. You can't go home. So, you might as well get a couple of exercise bikes in the canteen and talk to each other on a bike. Just walk around the block. Pedometers are brilliant. So, aiming, you don't actually need 10,000. It's now been proven that 7,500 gives you the same effect.
Oh, okay.
But having that as a visual sign, I used to use the pedometer. I haven't used it for some time now, but it used to be on me all my awakening hours. And if I was working with patients all day, so hence I'm sitting down all day, then I used to go for either 10,000 or 12,000 steps. I would pace up and down my lounge and make sure that I got those steps before it got to midnight, because then it changes to the next day. So I would get them in somehow. So I think pedometers are really good. It's a visual thing that you think, is that all I've done? I better go and walk to the shops then instead of getting in the car. Then I can make them up. Human beings are inherently lazy. We're not drawn to doing all this hard work, so we need some sort of reminder. You have to eat appropriately for whatever you're trying to do, whether you're trying to get bigger, smaller, stay as you are. You need that body toned up through exercise. You need adequate sleep. You need some sort of stress relief every day. So your meditation, your yoga asanas, anything that focuses you on being out of this world is great. So all these things come together to produce an immune system which hopefully will keep you on planet Earth for a very long time. So there's no one thing. I think with nutrition, it can be summed up in eat real food that you prepared yourself in the right quantities to keep your weight where it should be. There you go. Eat real food. Not stuff in, okay, there's like organic cans of tomatoes with one ingredient, tomatoes. That's pretty good. But in general, real food in the supermarkets is around the edges. You think about that in your supermarket. You've got all your fish and your meat and your real stuff and your fruit and veg. And in the middle, it's full of breakfast cereals, junk food, processed stuff. So, this is stuff you do once a week, once a month. The majority of your food should come with no labels. So the best food has no labels. In saying that, to separate organic produce, they will have to give you a breakdown because they put it in a bag. But you don't get, if you go to the butcher for a piece of beef, it won't have a calorie count on it or what's in it because it's 100% what it should be. So it's like real food has no labels in general, apart from like separating your heads of broccoli. You won't find, if he tips out fresh broccoli into the tray for you to buy, it won't come with a label on it. But because they have to separate the organic things, then yes, you get a label. But it's not processed, it's still real food. So, that's as simple as that. You don't need, Jane Plan on the TV. I'm sure she does great, gets a lot of money for it. But you don't need to dress it up in Weight Watchers, little tiny chocolate bars and whatever. Just eat real food that you prepare yourself. Because then you know what's in it. When you eat out, okay, people celebrate with food. But, thankfully not every day. But when you eat out, you've no idea what you're eating, what they cooked it in, what they cooked in the tin before they cooked your food. You have no idea. So, it's not difficult to eat well and correctly. I don't even think it's that much more expensive. All these pre-prepared things are relatively expensive. I've costed a few out. You can make, when I'm saying make your own ready meals and keep them in the freezer for times when you've got no time to cook, you can make between 4 and 6 ready meals for the price of one, even without using organic things. So, it's just that people are lazy. They don't want to be cooking. They just want stuff out of here, put it in the microwave, just eat it out of what it came in, saves washing up. A lot of people do that. On an occasional basis, yes, but not every day of your life. You're just going to get sick. Eventually the body's saying, look, I look at my little pigeonhole and it's like, I've got none of this, my vitamin D is low, My fat box is totally bulging. I've got none of this, and it's like, I'm really struggling. I haven't got the tools. You keep giving me all this stuff I've got to work with, and I don't have a way of breaking it down. So eventually, yes, people will say, oh, if I eat a cheese sandwich, I look 4 months pregnant. And I say, well, you know, and then I say, like, what are you sensitive to? Oh, bread, cheese. And I look at the thing and I say, well, why do you eat cheese sandwiches every day? Well, I love them. So I just put up with the fact that it doesn't suit me. But every time you do that, you're stressing the body out. And eventually, it's just going to go horizontally. It's like almost saying, when you used to say you hadn't got time to feed me and exercise me correctly, now I'll give you all the time you want, because now you're flat on your back. And then, you know, that's why a lot of, particularly with the guys, having a heart attack, providing they get over it, changes their life. They realise that, gosh, maybe 6 pints of Guinness and 20 cigarettes a day, maybe I seriously ought to think about stopping that now. But it's sad that you have to go through something so serious before you change. But this is human nature. And, you know, in part, look at all the cookery programmes that are on the TV. People watch them for entertainment. How many programmes do you have on the TV? Preventive medicine so you don't get sick. You don't have them. I mean, I took Living Foods on the telly years and years ago.
Wow.
But, you know, nobody's interested in, there's no money to be made in a programme like about living foods. But there are no preventive programmes on. Even run by medical experts. It's like Monday night at 8 o'clock, we will do you a programme saying, if you eat and drink like this, you will not be sick. And people think, oh, maybe there is something in this then. But people won't react until they've got a problem. Leslie Kenton used to do that. She used to have a programme on, and obviously she was into spreads and salads and everything. But, you know, there isn't anything like that on the telly. And yet that's the main form of entertainment for people. Cooking. And there's virtually nothing about health on the television. There's not a health series that you can tune in every week and say, like, this week we are going to focus on what you can eat and drink so you don't get heart disease. Some people would think, well, better watch them. All as you get adverts for crisps and chocolate and alcohol and whatever, and yet it's a media that they could be used.
Absolutely.
I mean, you know, it's no good saying, you know, on packets and things like, or on exercise sheets, it'll say, don't do any exercise until you've spoken with your doctor. Blooming doctor knows nothing about exercise. He's not going to be very happy with 3,000 patients he can't get to for somebody to come in and say, can you take me blood pressure and tell me if I can start exercising? In reality, nobody's going to make an appointment with, you can get an appointment with the doctor now.
I was going to say, that's the
you know,
hard
just
part.
to say, should I be taking exercise? Or, you know, taking a pack, because it'll say, like, on some supplements, it'll say, like, do not use this, and if you have diabetes or whatever, you must discuss this with your doctor. Who the heck does that nowadays? And doctors don't know anything about nutrition. In their 6 3/4 years of training, they get 2 hours. You know, they don't. For a doctor, they are trained by Big Pharma. Like, if this is what you see with the person in front of you, this is the pill to give them. They are brilliant at knowing which drugs to give you, because that's what they're trained for. But, you know, if you go and say, do you think if I took vitamin C it'd make me better? I say, no, just take these.
You're saying that that's actually happened. I've actually had that
Oh,
conversation.
absolutely. Yes.
Which vitamins to take?
Yeah.
And they've just said Google it.
It's the same with cancer patients in front of oncologists. You know, if they see me and they'll think, well, perhaps I hadn't ought to take this until I ask them. I say, well, I've heard vitamin C is very good for cancer. So, oh, don't do that because that will improve your immune system. I'm about to kill it off for you. And they say you can't have yogurt while you're on chemo because you might get about 3 good bacteria strains. And they're concerned that 3 little bugs are going to stop the most powerfulest medicine we've ever invented. I don't think so. So they know those sort of things. Anything that is good for you, they'll say, no, don't eat that. You know, just eat loads of junk and have tubs of ice cream to keep your weight up because they know you'll lose weight on the treatment.
Is that what they actually say? They recommend eating ice cream?
Yep.
Wow.
Yep. That's what, feedback from patients I say.
Of course.
So now most people, they'll follow all my protocols and my supplemental protocols and just don't say anything.
That's our word, yeah. See how they feel? That's the real test, isn't it? How do you feel?
Yeah.
Are you improving? As we conclude our profound journey with the incomparable Pat Reeves on Serenity Speaks, Conversations on Wellness, I hope you've been inspired by her resilience, courage and dedication to well-being. Pat's story reminds us that even in the face of challenges, the human spirit can rise above and passion can be a powerful force for healing. We are honoured to have shared this part of Pat's journey with you. Stay connected with Serenity Speaks for more empowering stories, insightful discussions and transformative insights into holistic wellness. Don't forget to follow, download and share. And we're back next Sunday with a new guest, Sarah Westwood of Primal Sound. Sarah is a gifted musician and her organisation specialises in African drumming for wellbeing and immersive sound bath events. Get ready to be transported into a world of rhythmic healing and sonic serenity and experience the power of primal sounds.